The great city of Zentara stretched across the surface of the Empire's capital world like a metal ocean. Towers of glass and steel reached toward the purple sky, each one bigger than entire human cities. Ships flew between the buildings like silverfish, carrying beings from 1,000 different worlds. In the center of it all stood the Imperial Palace. It was a massive structure that could be seen from space. Today, every screen in the galaxy showed the same image: the palace's execution chamber. Taeho Kim stood in chains before the imperial court. He was only 16 years old, but his back was straight and his eyes were clear. The boy did not look afraid, even though he knew he was going to die. The execution chamber was huge. Thousands of alien beings filled the seats, all watching the human boy. Most of them had never seen a human before. To them, humans were just another weak species from the outer worlds. They were here to watch the Empire show its power. High above the crowd sat Emperor Vexstar on his crystal throne. The Emperor was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and 4 arms. His black eyes looked down at Taeho without any feeling. To him, this was just another day of ruling the galaxy. Human colony worker Taeho Kim, the Emperor's voice filled the chamber through speakers. Stand charged with rebellion against the Empire.
Act.
You attacked Imperial officers and caused other humans to fight back. How do you answer? Taeho lifted his head higher. When he spoke, his voice was calm and strong. I stopped them from beating an old man to death. If that is rebellion, then I am guilty. A low rumble went through the crowd. Some aliens laughed. Others looked surprised that a human would speak so boldly to the Emperor. The Emperor's thin lips curved into a cold smile. Tell us, human boy, what happened on Mining Station 7? Taeho closed his eyes for a moment, remembering. Opened them again. They were filled with sadness, but not fear. The Vulcan guards were beating Worker Lee because he could not lift heavy rocks anymore. He is 70 years old. His hands shake from years of mining. But they kept hitting him with shock sticks. Taeho's voice grew stronger. I asked them to stop. They laughed and hit him harder, so I picked up a metal bar and made them stop. You injured 3 Imperial guards, the prosecutor said. The alien was covered in green scales and had a voice like breaking glass. You caused 20 human workers to attack our forces. 5 guards went to the medical center. Taeho said simply. The crowd made more noise. Some aliens hissed in anger. Others seemed interested in this brave human boy. Emperor Vexstar raised one of his 4 hands. The chamber became quiet. Do you have anything else to say before we pass judgment? Ho looked up at the Emperor. Then he looked at the cameras that were sending his image across the galaxy. He knew billions of beings were watching him. He knew other humans on distant worlds could see him too. My father taught me that some things are worth dying for, Taeho said. His voice carried to every corner of the chamber. Said that protecting innocent people is always right, even when powerful people say it is wrong. I am not sorry for what I did. The Emperor leaned forward in his throne. Your father? Tell us about this human who taught you to rebel. He is not a rebel, Taeho said quickly. He is a farmer now, grows food and fixes machines. He has never hurt anyone who did not deserve it. What is his name? The Emperor asked. Taeho was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Jinwoo Kim. He lives on Kepler 4 for to be. He will not cause you trouble. He only wants to live in peace. The Emperor made a note on his crystal pad. We will remember that name. A cold feeling went through Taeho's chest, but he did not show it. He had to trust that his father would stay safe. The judgment of this court is death, Emperor Vexstar announced. The human Taeho Kim will be executed by neural disintegration. Let this be a lesson to all humans who think they can fight the Empire. Guards moved to take Taeho to the execution platform. It was a metal table with wires and machines around it. Neural disintegration was not a quick death. It would hurt. For several minutes before his brain stopped working, as they strapped him down, Taeho looked up at the cameras one more time. Tell my father I remembered his lessons, he said. Tell him I was not afraid. The machine began to power up.
Blue light.
Blue light filled the chamber. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched as the young human boy faced his death with courage. The execution took 4 minutes. Tae-ho Kim died as he had lived, with dignity and strength. The cameras showed everything. The Empire wanted every human in the galaxy to see what happened to rebels. When it was over, Emperor Vexstar stood from his throne. "Let this human's death be a message," he said to the cameras. "The Empire is strong. Humans are weak. Anyone who fights us will die like this boy." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, beings turned off their screens and went back to their lives. Most of them forgot about the human boy within hours. But on the outer rim worlds, in the dark corners of space where humans lived and worked, people did not forget. They whispered Tae-ho Kim's name. They remembered his courage. They talked about his last words. "Tell my father I remembered his lessons." Deep in space, on a small farming world, an old communication device started beeping. Jin-woo Kim was working in his garden when he heard it. He had not used that device in 20 years. His hands shook. As he turned it on, the message was short. "Your son is dead. Executed 1 hour ago." Broadcast went to entire galaxy. "I'm sorry, old friend." Kyung-soo Jin-woo Kim dropped to his knees in the dirt. His tomatoes and corn plants swayed in the wind around him. For a long time, he did not move. The Empire thought they had sent a message about their power. They thought killing one human boy would make other humans afraid. They were wrong. They had no idea what they had just awakened. Kepler 442b was a quiet world. Most people who lived there were farmers or traders. The planet had green fields, clean rivers, and peaceful towns. It was the kind of place where nothing exciting ever happened. Jin-woo Kim liked it that way. His farm sat on a hill outside the town of New Busan. He grew vegetables and fixed old machines for his neighbors. People knew him as a quiet man who kept to himself. He had moved to the planet 15 years ago with his wife and baby son. When his wife died of sickness 5 years later, he stayed and raised his boy alone. Jin-woo was working in his garden. When the old communication device started beeping, stopped digging and looked at the small black box hidden under his workbench. He had not heard that sound in 20 years. His hands were dirty from the soil. They shook as he picked up the device and turned it on. The message was from Kyung-soo Park, an old friend from his past life. "Your son is dead. Executed 1 hour ago." Broadcast went to entire galaxy. "I'm sorry, old friend." Jin-woo read the message 3 times. Then he dropped the device and fell to his knees in the dirt. "No," he whispered. "Not Tae-ho, not my boy." He stayed there for a long time. The sun moved across the sky. His vegetables needed water, but he did not move. His mind kept thinking the same thing over and over. "My son is dead." When darkness came, Jin-woo finally stood up. His legs were stiff, and his back hurt. He walked slowly to his small house and turned on the news screen. The reporter was a blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes. She was talking about the execution. "The human rebel was killed today in front of billions of viewers," she said. "Emperor Vexstar says this shows what happens to anyone who fights the Empire." The boy's last words were about his father, a farmer named Jin-woo Kim. The screen showed pictures from the execution. Jin-woo saw his son standing brave and strong. Before the Emperor, he saw Tae-ho speak his final words. He watched his only child die. Jin-woo turned off the screen. The house was dark and quiet now. He sat in his old chair and looked at a picture on the table. It showed him with his wife Soo-ben and baby Tae-ho. They were all smiling. "I'm sorry, Soo-ben," he said to the picture. "I couldn't protect him." Had met Soo-ben 22 years ago on a space station. She was a doctor helping sick people. He was there on a job, a very different kind of job. She saw past the dangerous man he was and loved him anyway. "Promise me you'll leave that life behind," she had said when they got married. "Promise me you'll find a better way," he had promised. And he had kept that promise, even after she died. Even when imperial doctors refused to help human patients. Even when he wanted to hurt the people who let his wife die. But now they had taken his son. 2. Jin-woo stood up and walked to his bedroom. In the back of his closet was a loose board. Behind it was a small metal box. He had not opened it in 20 years. Inside the box were things from his old life. A false identity card, codes for secret bank accounts, His contact information for people. Across the galaxy, and at the bottom, a small black feather, his old calling card. Back then, people called him Baba Yaga, not his real name, the one that made powerful beings wake up screaming. He was the best at what he did. The kings and emperors hired him to kill their enemies. Crime bosses paid him to remove problems. Entire armies feared the mention of his name. But he had given all that up for love, for Subin, for the chance to be a father and live a normal life. Jinwoo looked at the black feather in his hand. It was still perfect after all these years. "It kept my promise to you, Subin," he said quietly. "I was a good father. I was a peaceful man. But they took our boy from us." He walked outside to the small grave behind his house. Subin was buried there under a flowering tree. Jinwoo knelt by the headstone and dug in the soft earth with his hands. Buried there was another metal box. This one contained things he hoped he would never need again. Weapon designs. Maps of secret routes through space. Names of people who owed him favors. Plans for jobs he never finished. "I have to go," he told his wife's grave. "I have to make them pay for what they did to Taiho. I know you wouldn't want this, but he was our son. He was everything good about us." The wind moved through the tree branches above him. For a moment, Jinwoo thought he could hear Subin's voice telling him to be careful. He went back into the house and sat at his old computer. His fingers remembered codes he had not used in decades. Secret networks that connected the criminals and rebels of the galaxy. Messages began to appear on his screen. The news of Taiho's execution was everywhere. But there was something else. Whispers. Questions. People wondering if the boy's father was that Jinwoo Kim, the one from the old stories. Jinwoo typed a simple message and sent it to 12 different people across the galaxy. "The ghost is awake. I need to talk." Within an hour, responses came back. Some people thought he was dead. Others had been waiting for this day. All of them remembered what he could do. Kyung's Park was the first to answer. "My ship is yours. Where do we meet?" Hanul Choi wrote. "I've kept your old identities ready, just in case." Donghai and Lee sent. "I have information you'll want. The Empire thinks they're safe." By one, his old network came back to life. His people he had worked with, people who owed him debts, people who respected what he used to be. But there was one more message. This one made Jinwoo smile for the first time since hearing about his son's death. It was from his old weapons supplier. "Saw the news. Building you something special. Now the Empire won't know what hit them." Jinwoo looked at the picture of his family one more time. Then he began to pack. He took only a few clothes and the contents of both metal boxes. Everything else he left behind. Before he walked out the door, he stopped at Subin's picture. "I was Jinwoo Kim, the farmer, for 20 years, he said. "I was a good husband and father. But now I have to be someone else. Now I have to be Baba Yaga again." He turned off the lights and locked the door. Across the galaxy, word was over. Across the galaxy, word was already spreading through the criminal underground. Baba Yaga was coming back. The Empire had made a terrible mistake. They had killed his son, thinking it would scare humans into obedience. Instead, they had awakened the most dangerous human who ever lived. The message spread through the galaxy's dark corners like fire through dry grass. In hidden bars on distant worlds, smugglers stopped their conversations. In underground markets, information brokers checked their old files. In secret bases, rebels looked up from their plans. Baba Yaga was active again. Kung Su. Pak was drinking alone in a bar on Titan Station when he got Jinwoo's message. He was a big man with scars on his face and tattoos covering his arms. Other people in the bar knew he was dangerous and left him alone. Kung Su read the message 3 times. Then he smiled and finished his drink. "Boys," he shouted to his crew across the bar. "We're leaving, right now." "What's the rush, Captain?" asked Jamin, his pilot. "We just got here." "An old friend needs help," Kung Su said. He threw money on the table and stood up. It's the kind of friend you don't say no to. 15 years ago, Kung Su had been caught smuggling weapons to human rebels. Imperial forces were going to execute him. Then Baba Yaga appeared like a ghost. In the night, by morning, 12 imperial officers were dead, and Kung Su was free. "I owe you my life," Kung Su had said. "Maybe someday I'll collect," Ginwu had replied. Today was that day, Kung Su's ship. The Blue Dragon was fast and well-armed. More importantly, it had hiding places the Empire didn't know about. Within 2 hours, they were flying toward the meeting point Jinwu had sent. On the forge world of Kepler 186F, Newell Choi was working in her secret workshop. She was small and quiet, with clever hands and sharp eyes. Most people thought she fixed old computers. They didn't know she was the best identity forger in the galaxy. Hanel had been waiting for this message for 20 years. She opened a locked cabinet and pulled out a box marked JK. Inside were identity cards, passports, credit chips, and travel permits. All of them were perfect fakes, with Jinwu's face and different names. "I hoped I'd never have to give these to you," she said to herself, but she smiled as she packed them. Hanel had always liked Jinwu. He was one of the few killers who never threatened her or treated her badly. She also packed her best equipment. If Baba Yaga was coming back, he would need documents that could fool anyone. Dong Hyan Lee got the message while he was having dinner with his family. He looked like a normal businessman in his nice suit and clean apartment. His wife and children thought he sold insurance? They didn't know he used to be an Imperial intelligence officer. They didn't know he had access to the Empire's most secret information. They didn't know he had been feeding information to rebels for 10 years. "I have to go on a business trip," he told his wife Min-young. "How long will you be gone?" she asked. "I don't know," Dong Hyan said honestly. "Maybe a long time." He kissed his wife and children goodbye. Then he went to his hidden office and began copying files. Military movements, security codes, personnel records, everything Jinwu might need to hunt his enemies. But there was one file that made Dong Hyan's blood run cold: a new Imperial Order. Signed by the Emperor himself: find and eliminate Jinwu Kim. Use all necessary force. Priority level 1. They knew who they had awakened. Meanwhile, in the Imperial Palace, Admiral Galactic was reading the same file. The Admiral was a huge alien with gray skin and 6 arms, commanded the Empire's military forces, and had never lost a battle. But the file about Baba Yaga made him nervous. "Sir," his aide said, "we have found Jinwu Kim's location." "Yes." "A farm on Kepler 442b. Send a full battle group," Admiral Gatho ordered. 100 ships, 1,000 soldiers. "I want that planet surrounded." "Sir, it's just one human," the aide said. Admiral Gathok looked at him with cold eyes. "Read the file again, and tell me if you think it's just one human." The aide read about the Meridian Incident, where Baba Yaga killed an entire command staff during a state dinner. He read about the Void Station Massacre, where 50 Imperial agents died in one night. He read about the Crimson Fleet, where every captain and officer was found dead in their locked cabins. "I'll send the battle group right away," the aide stammered. But when the Imperial ships reached Kepler 442b, they found only an empty farm. Jinwu was already gone. On the smuggler moon of Series 7, the old network was coming together. Kong Su's ship landed in a hidden dock underground. Hanel arrived on a passenger transport, looking like a tourist. Dong Hyan came on a merchant vessel, pretending to sell insurance. They met in a bar that had no name and no windows. The owner was an old Martian named Biora, who had worked with Jinwu years ago. She made sure no one else could hear their conversation. "Is he really back?" Hanel asked. "He's back," Kung Su said, "and he's angry." Dong Hyan put a data chip on the table. Everything I could find about the people who killed his son. The Emperor, the judges, the guards, the broadcast team, their schedules, their security, their weaknesses. "The Empire knows he's active," Dong Hyan continued. "They're hunting him with everything they have." "Good luck to them," Biora laughed. "I've seen him work. The Empire has no idea what they're dealing with." More people arrived throughout the day. Smugglers, hackers, weapon dealers, information brokers. All of them had worked with Baba Yaga. Before, all of them remembered what he could do. Some came because they owed him favors. Others came because they respected him. A few came because they were afraid of what would happen if they didn't help. By evening, Jinwoo arrived. He looked older than they remembered. His hair was gray now, and there were lines around his eyes. But when he walked into the room, everyone became quiet. You could feel the danger radiating from him like heat from a fire. "Thank you for coming," Jinwoo said simply. "We're sorry about your boy," Kung-soo said. Taeho was a good kid. Jinwoo's jaw tightened. "The Empire thinks killing my son will scare other humans. They're wrong. It will only make us angry." He looked around the room at his old allies. "I'm not asking you to fight my war. I'm asking for help to send a message. I'm done. Every species in the galaxy will know what happens when you hurt a human's family." "What do you need?" Hanel asked. "New identities? Fast ships? Weapons? Information?" Jinwoo's voice was calm but deadly. "And I need the Empire to believe they're hunting a ghost." Dong Han slid the data chip across the table. "This has everything about the people responsible for Taeho's death, where they live, where they work, how to reach them." We picked up the chip. How many? 47 people directly involved. From the Emperor down to the camera operators. "Then 47 people are going to die," Jinwoo said. "Starting tonight," Hanel handed him a bag of fake documents. "These will get you anywhere in the galaxy, even the Imperial capital." Kung-soo stood up. "My ship is yours. Where do we start?" Jinwoo looked at the data on Dong Hyan's chip. "Mining Station 7, where it all began. There's a guard captain there named Kong Dae-yoon. He's the one who beat the old man, the one who made my son fight back." "The station has heavy security," Dong Hyan warned. Jinwoo smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Good. I want them to know. I'm coming. I want word to spread. I want every Imperial officer in the galaxy to be afraid to sleep at night." As the meeting ended, the old network began to move. Ships were prepared. Weapons were loaded. Safe houses were arranged. The galaxy's most dangerous criminal organization was awakening after 20 years of sleep, but across space. Imperial forces were also moving. Fleets were deployed. Bounty hunters were hired. The Emperor himself was planning Jinwoo's death. Empire thought they were hunting one angry human. They had no idea they were about to face a legend. Mining Station 7 floated in the darkness between two dead planets. It was an ugly place made of metal and rust, where humans dug rare minerals from asteroids. The air always smelled like oil and sweat. Most workers lived in tiny rooms and ate cheap food. Guard Captain Kong Dae-yoon ruled the station like a king. He was cruel to the human workers and enjoyed making them suffer. 3 weeks ago, he had beaten an old man nearly to death. When a boy named Taeho tried to stop him, Kong Dae had arrested him for rebellion. Now that boy was dead, executed by the Emperor himself. Kong Dae thought this made him important. He'd bragged to other guards about how his actions led to the famous execution. He didn't know that Taeho's father was coming for him. The first sign of trouble came at midnight station time. Communication center went dark. Then the security cameras stopped working. The guards tried to radio for help, but got only static. "What's happening?" Kong Dae asked his second-in-command, Lieutenant Sung-ho Park. "I don't know, Captain. All our systems are failing." Kong Dae felt nervous for the first time in years. "Send teams to check the equipment and double the guards around the station." But the teams never reported back. Jinwoo moved through mining. Station 7 like a shadow. 20 years of peaceful farming had not made him slow. His body remembered every lesson from his deadly past. He disabled guards without making a sound. He cut power cables and jammed communications. He turned the station's own security system against itself. Hanul had given him perfect station worker clothes and identification. Dong Hyan had provided maps of every room and corridor. Kong-soo's ship waited hidden behind a nearby asteroid. Jin-Woo. First target was Security Chief Min-jae SCO, the man who had helped arrest Taeho. Min-jae was alone in his office, reading reports about the execution. He was proud of his part in catching the rebel boy. "Security Chief SEO," a voice said behind him. Min-jae spun around. A maintenance worker stood in his doorway. The man looked ordinary. except for his cold, dark eyes. "How did you get in here? This area is restricted?" "I'm here about Tae-ho Kim," Jinwoo said quietly. Min-jae's hand moved toward his weapon. "The rebel boy? What about him? You helped kill my son?" The words were spoken so calmly that Min-jae almost didn't understand them. Then his blood turned to ice. "You're him," Min-jae whispered. "You're the father." Jinwoo stepped into the room and closed the door. Min-jae tried to draw his gun, but Jinwoo was faster, much faster. The security chief died without making a sound. Jinwoo left a small black feather on the desk and moved on. One by one, the guards who had hurt Tae-ho began to disappear. They were found in locked rooms with no signs of violence. No wounds, no blood. They simply died, as if their hearts had stopped from fear. Each body had a black feather placed carefully. Nearby, Kangdae realized what was happening when they found the fifth guard dead in his quarters. "It's him," Kangdae said to Lieutenant Park. "It's Baba Yaga, the boy's father." "That's impossible," Park said. "Baba Yaga is just a story, a legend." "Look around," Kangdae shouted. "Does this look like a story to you?" Park looked at the dead guard, then at the black feather on the nightstand. "What do we do?" "We call for help. Get every Imperial ship in this sector here now." But the communication systems were still down. Jinwoo was still hunting. Lieutenant Park was next. He died in the station's cafeteria while eating his evening meal. Workers found him slumped over his food tray, a black feather in his coffee cup. Then Sergeant Dal-Soo Kim, who had beaten the old man alongside Kangdae, he died. In the medical bay where he was getting treatment for a broken arm, the doctors said his heart simply stopped by morning. Only Kangdae was left alive from the group that had arrested Tae-ho. He barricaded himself in the station's control room with 6 guards. They had weapons and armor. The room had thick metal walls and only one entrance. Kangdae thought he was safe. He was wrong. "Captain," one of the guards said, "someone's coming down the corridor." They aimed their weapons at the door. Nobody came through it. Instead, the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Then they heard a voice over the station's speakers. "Captain Kangdae-yoon." The voice was calm and cold. It seemed to come from everywhere at once. "You beat an old man for the crime of being tired. When my son tried to protect him, you had him arrested. You started the chain of events that led to his death. Who are you?" Kangdae shouted. "Show yourself. You know who I am." The red lights began to flicker. In the darkness between flashes, shapes seemed to move. The guards fired their weapons at shadows. "I had orders," Kangdae screamed. "I was following Imperial law." "Imperial law," the voice repeated. "Is that what you call beating old men? Is that justice?" One by one, the guards stopped shooting. When the lights came back on, they were all dead. No wounds, no blood. Just 6 bodies and 6 black feathers. Kangdae was alone. The door to the control room opened. Jinwoo walked in, still wearing his maintenance worker clothes. He looked like any normal person except for his eyes. Those eyes held the coldness of space itself. "Please," Kangdae begged. "I have a family, children." "So did I," Jinwoo said. Kangdae died like the others, without violence, but with perfect certainty. Jinwoo placed a black feather on the control panel and activated the station's communication system. His message went out to every Imperial base and ship in the sector. "This is Jinwoo Kim. You killed my son to show your power over humans. Now I will show you what humans do when you hurt our families. Every person responsible for Tae-ho's death will die. Every person who helped them will die. Tell your emperor that Baba Yaga is coming for him." The message repeated for 10 minutes. Before Jinwoo shut it down, across the galaxy, Imperial officers heard the transmission. Some laughed, thinking it was just an angry human making empty threats. Others checked their security files and found the old reports about Baba Yaga. Those officers stopped laughing, began to pray. Admiral Galactic received the message in his flagship. He immediately sent orders to every Imperial base. Maximum security. Constant patrols, trusted guards only, but he knew it wouldn't be enough. Baba Yaga had killed 12 people on a heavily guarded mining station without firing a single shot. If he could do that, nowhere in the galaxy was truly safe. "Sir," his aide said nervously, "should we warn the Emperor?" Admiral Gathak looked at the list of people involved in Taeho's execution. 47 names, including Emperor Vexstar himself. "Yes," he said quietly. "Warn them all, though I don't think it will matter." Jinwoo left Mining Station 7 the same way he had arrived, like a ghost. Kyungsu's ship picked him up from a maintenance dock and they disappeared into hyperspace, but the message had been sent. The hunt had begun, across the galaxy. 46 people still lived who had helped kill Taeho Kim. They were about to learn that some fathers will burn the universe to avenge their children, and Jinwoo Kim was that kind of father. 3 months had passed since the Mining Station 7 incident. Across the galaxy, Imperial officers were dying in their sleep. Judges who had condemned human rebels were found dead in their locked chambers. Military commanders who had ordered attacks on human colonies simply disappeared. Each death was perfect and clean. No violence, no struggle. Just a black feather left behind and another name crossed off Jinwoo's list. The Empire was in chaos. Soldiers refused night duty. Officers slept in groups, afraid to be alone. Some of the most powerful beings in the galaxy hired armies of bodyguards and still jumped at shadows. But Jinwoo was patient. He had learned patience from farming, from watching seeds grow into food. Now he was growing fear throughout the Empire, one careful death at a time. Only 7 names remained on his list now. 7 people who had directly caused his son's death. And at the top of that list was Emperor Vexstar himself, the Imperial Palace. Anzantara was the most protected place in the galaxy. 50,000 guards patrolled its walls. Energy shields covered every entrance. Sensors watched every corridor. No one had ever broken into the palace and lived to tell about it, but Jinwoo had advantages the palace designers never expected. He had Myung Seot. Myung was a human servant who had worked in the palace for 8 years. She cleaned rooms, served food, and was invisible to the alien nobles who lived there. They never noticed her listening to their conversations or watching their daily routines. She had contacted Jinwoo after hearing about Taeho's execution. Like many humans in the Empire, she was tired of being treated like an animal. When Baba Yaga asked for her help, she said yes immediately. "The Emperor has moved to the deep levels," Myung reported through their secret communication. "He sleeps in a vault 300 meters underground, 30 guards outside, sealed blast doors, independent air supply." "What about his daily schedule?" Jinwoo asked. "He only leaves the vault to use the Imperial throne room. Even then, he's surrounded by the throne guard, his personal elite soldiers. They're the best fighters in the galaxy." Jinwoo smiled grimly. He had fought the best before. "Can you get me inside the palace? I can hide you in a food delivery. But after that, you're on your own. That's all I need." The next morning, Myung signed for a delivery of vegetables from a farming world. Hidden in a crate of potatoes was Jinwoo, along with weapons and equipment provided by his old network. Getting inside the palace was the easy part. The hard part was getting to the Emperor. Jin-Woo moved through the palace service tunnels like water flowing downhill. He'd studied the building plans for weeks. He knew every room, every corridor, every hidden passage. The first throne guard died in the kitchen storage room. He had come to investigate a strange noise and found only vegetables. Scattered on the floor, when other guards found his body an hour later, there was a black feather in his helmet. The second and third guards died in the elevator shaft leading to the deep levels. They were checking the security systems when the lights went out. When the lights came back on, they were gone. Only their weapons remained, each with a black feather tied to the trigger. By now, alarms were ringing throughout the palace. The remaining throne guards rushed to protect their emperor. Out. But Jinwoo was already inside their security perimeter. The fourth guard died in the emperor's bathroom, the fifth in his private dining room, the sixth in the hallway outside his bedroom. Each death was silent and perfect. Each left a black feather as calling card. Emperor Vexstar waited in his throne room with his last 24 guards. The room was huge, with a crystal throne sitting at the top of marble steps. Statues of previous emperors lined the walls. "He's here," Vexstar said. His forearms shook with fear. "Baba Yaga is in my palace." "We'll protect you, Your Majesty," Captain In Sujung of the Throne Guard promised. "He's just one human." "Just one human?" Vexstar laughed bitterly. "He's killed 40 people in 3 months. My best officers are dead. Admirals are afraid to leave their ships, all because of just one human." The lights in the throne room flickered. When they steadied, a man stood at the bottom of the marble steps. Ginwoo Kim looked exactly like what he was, a farmer from a peaceful world, wore simple clothes and carried no visible weapons. But the 24 elite guards felt their blood turn to ice when they saw his eyes. Emperor Vexstar Jinwoo said politely, as if he was greeting a neighbor, "Kill him." Vexstar screamed. The throne guards opened fire with energy weapons that could cut through steel. But Jinwoo was no longer where their shots landed. He moved like liquid shadow flowing. Between their attacks, Captain Jung was the first to die. One moment he was firing his weapon, the next he was on the ground with his neck broken. Ginwoo took his gun and continued moving. The guards were the best fighters in the galaxy, but they had never faced anything like this. Jinwoo fought with perfect economy of motion. Every step had a purpose. Every strike was exactly what was needed. No wasted energy, no unnecessary violence. In 3 minutes, all 24 guards were dead. Jinwoo walked slowly up the marble steps toward the crystal throne. Emperor Vexstar pressed himself back against the seat, all 4 arms raised in surrender. "Wait," the emperor said. "I can give you anything. Power, your own planet. Name your price." And Wu stopped in front of the throne. "You killed my son on live broadcast. You thought it would show your power over humanity? I was making an example, to keep order." "You were showing off," Jinwoo said quietly. "You wanted the galaxy to see you kill a human boy. You wanted other species to fear you." Psst. Vexstar tried to stand up, but his legs wouldn't support him. He was a rebel. He attacked my guards. Was 16 years old. He tried to protect an old man from being beaten to death. Jinwoo's voice never rose above a whisper, but it filled the enormous room. He was brave and good and kind. He was everything you will never be. "Please," the emperor begged. "I have children too." "Yes," Ginwoo said. "I know about your children." "I know about your grandchildren. I know where they live and how to reach them." Vexstar's eyes widened in terror. "But I won't hurt them," Jinwoo continued, "because that would make me like you, and I am nothing like you." Jinwoo activated a small device. Suddenly, cameras throughout the palace came alive. Screens across the galaxy began showing the throne room. "Citizens of the Empire," Ginwoo said, looking directly into the cameras. "You are watching the most powerful being in the galaxy beg for his life. 3 months ago, this creature executed my 16-year-old son to demonstrate imperial strength. Today you will see what human strength really looks like." Emperor Vexstar tried to crawl away from the throne, but there was nowhere to go. "I am Jinwoo Kim," Jinwoo continued. "You knew me as Baba Yaga. My son was named Taeho Kim. He died because he tried to protect the innocent. His death was supposed to make humans afraid. Instead, it has made me remember who I used to be." He turned back to the emperor. "You wanted to send a message about imperial power? I have a different message." Ginwoo reached out with one hand and touched the emperor's forehead. Vexstar's 4 eyes rolled back, and he collapsed. Like all the others, he died without violence, without struggle. His heart simply stopped beating. Jinwoo placed a black feather on the crystal throne and looked back at the cameras. "This is my message to the galaxy," he said. "Humans are not weak. We are not animals. We are not your slaves. Touch our families, hurt our children, and we will find you. We will hunt you across the stars. We'll follow you to the edge of the edge. Universe if necessary. He paused, thinking of his son's last words. My boy died with courage and dignity. He remembered the lessons I taught him about protecting others. Today, I have remembered my own lessons about protecting my family. Jinwoo walked down the steps, past the bodies of the throne guards, toward the palace exit. I am going home now, he said to the cameras. Back to my farm, back to my peaceful life. I want every being in this galaxy to remember what happened. Here, remember that a human father brought down the mightiest empire in the galaxy to avenge his son. Duh. The broadcast continued for another hour, showing the empty throne room and the dead emperor. By the time Imperial forces regained control of the cameras, the message had been seen by billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Ginwoo Kim disappeared from the palace as quietly as he had entered. Myung helped him escape, and Kung-Su's ship carried him away from Zentara. 3 days later, he was back on his farm on Kepler 4 for 2B, tending his vegetables and fixing old machines. But the galaxy was forever changed. Human colonies began to rebel openly. Other species that had been oppressed by the Empire started their own uprisings. The name Baba Yaga became a legend whispered in every corner of space. Some said Ginwoo Kim was dead, killed in the palace. Others claimed he was still out there, watching and waiting. Imperial forces searched for him, but found only an empty farm and a grave marked Subin Kim, beloved wife and mother. The truth was simpler. Ginwoo had kept his promise to his wife's memory. He had been a good father and raised a brave son. When that son was taken from him, he had shown the galaxy what human love could become when transformed into vengeance. Now he was just a farmer again, growing food under alien stars. But every parent in the galaxy, human and alien alike, knew his story. They knew that sometimes love required terrible strength. They knew that some fathers would burn down empires to protect their children. And they knew that Ginwoo Kim was still out there, ready to teach that lesson again if anyone was foolish enough to forget it. The legend of Baba Yaga was complete. But the man behind the legend had found his peace at last.